you need inspiration, motivation, or hope? Do you let fear hold you back? Sometimes you feel lost or just stuck in your own thoughts, and you want a clear path to give you results. Then, my friend, you are in the right place. My name is Rachel Best, and I am your host of How to Make a Mark in the World, Finding Your Signature. Go ahead and grab a pen and paper because you're going to want to take notes.
Oh my goodness. We are back again for another episode of How to Make a Mark in the World, Finding Your Signature. Today, we have an amazing special guest. Her name is Desiree Cruz. I got the opportunity to meet her. Oh my gosh, it was in February. Isn't that crazy? It feels like a lifetime, but it's only been how many months is that? 10 months?
Yeah.
And I got an opportunity to meet her and her husband at one of their, I'm sure she's going to talk about it here in a little bit, at one of her speaker competitions. And I just have fallen in love with her and her husband. They're such great people. They're truly using their story and just making a mark in the world. And so I am so honored that she's here today to pour into everybody and just share her heart. And so Desiree, go ahead and tell us who you are and how are you making a mark in the world?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Rachel. I just love you. I love everything you're doing, and I am here rooting you on always.
Thank you.
Jesse and I are just seeing you grow and expand and move mountains, and we're here for it. So,
thank
you so much for having me.
I appreciate it.
So,
Absolutely.
Making my mark in the world, I could sit here and talk about this all day long, and I'm so excited to talk about this because this is something that I've really been hovering and focusing on and really living my life in legacy. So it's been a huge, major focus point for me for like 2 years. It's been so amazing. This is the happiest I've ever been in my whole life. I would have to say this past 2 years, truly living in legacy and really, really, really unfolding what that means to me personally, what that means to my family, what that means for my husband, what that means for our financial freedom. How it impacts the world and our business, and how do we truly create and be the people that we want to be, that God's made us to be, really meditating in the love for God and how much He's changed my life. I could sit and talk about this for days. And so thank you for having this platform so that I can come on and talk about it. First, for me, it started with my relationship with God. I always like to say that I don't like to take credit for anything because really for me, I wasn't a God-loving person 10 years ago. And then I became a God-loving person, and it's transformed my whole life. And I really, truly believe that preachy doesn't really work, but I truly believe when you can see people's whole life has changed, I believe that that's proof. And I like to really step into that and show people like, this is who I am now. This is who I feel I'm called to be. And I love showing my family that and my friends that. And so really that's really what I've done for the past 2 years. I've really stepped into this calling, and I've really pulled back all the layers and kept seeing who God is, who God wants me to be, who God keeps showing me that I can be. And, the bigger picture of all of it and the healing journey, and so Jesse and I have to give a lot of credit to Jesse. He was my first person that I got to see transform from God. He wasn't the same man. And it was truly incredible. The Jesse that I met was not the same Jesse that I married, right? So it was like he was my first example of what it really looks like when God changes someone. And I got to be honest with you, in the beginning, I was like a little like, I don't know about this whole God thing, right? So I have to give a lot of credit to Jesse. He's really shown me as a man what it's like to become a man of faith. And, it was beautiful to watch. And so my mark in the world started with watching my husband and then seeing his lead in the journey of what faith can do to people, and your spirituality and your growth and your mindset and your personality and your discipline and all of that. And it was just beautiful. It was beautiful. And I could sit here and talk about it all day long, but I watched him heal. I watched him grow, and I watched him mature. I watched him step out in faith. I watched him take risk. I watched him not care about what anybody else thought. I saw him leading my family, leading my kids, showing me areas of myself that I wasn't disciplined in. And I think marriage truly is that. It's a mix of love, grace, and challenge. And then together you come in God's love, and it's like you become unstoppable. So that's really, for me, that's what it was. That's how we started this whole mission with Merge Worldwide. And a lot of people know we were just walking every day together and praying on our walks. And we just prayed for so long that we would be able to merge both of our passions and have it be like, okay, so what is God telling us that we're strong in? And what is it that God, where is it that you feel the most joy? Where is it that you feel the most changed? Where is it where you feel the most inspired? And every single time I saw him get on that stage, that's where it was. And I remember watching him, and it was the first speech that he did after our daughter passed. Now, that was the most significant point for me, because it's like you can't deny the healing that happened on that stage. So I watched him, and I thought to myself, this is it. This is Jesse's calling. This is where he should be. This is where God's put him. He has such a way he has such a way of listening to people, and he has such a way of also speaking the right words directly to you in love and in faith and in growth, right? And so I watched him heal, and I said, this was it. And now me, on the other hand, I love traveling. The traveling is soul changing for me, and I love serving. I'm a servant. I really truly believe that. Like, I feel the most fulfilled when I feel like I've helped somebody else, or if I empowered somebody else, or I've inspired somebody else. And with my background stories that are very tragic, and then with Jesse's background stories that were tragic, and then you put them together, and then we had lost our daughter, which was tragic. I think that God used both of us, and he put both of us together to do exactly what we're doing right now with Merge Worldwide, where we give people the platform and the opportunity to come on and say, listen, this is my story. And there's power in that, and standing in that, and being able to be vulnerable enough to do it, and to get on stage, and to challenge yourself, and to watch yourself release and help yourself grow. And it's beautiful what happens in that room.
Yeah, it so is. I know for myself, when you do speak, like you have no idea, like, the healing when you tell your story, when you share your story, because we've been, I would have to say there's been so many times in the past that we've been told to, just stuff our story, right? And to just not have that voice to share. And so when we do share, there is healing in that. And I can definitely relate with Jesse, because I know when I've gotten on that stage to share my story, there was healing through it as well. And so did he like, when he started speaking, like, how did that all happen? Like, tell me about that a little bit.
So we were at a little tiny Cornerstone church.
Okay.
In our hometown. And it was amazing. It's literally called the Cornerstone. And it's this small little church on the corner. I've never been there before. I walked in, and they asked my husband to come speak about faith. And it was because he had just written his book about losing faith, finding hope. Gotcha. And so someone had heard the story, read the story, and he decided to go up. So he wrote that book in the NICU. His first book was written in the NICU while we were in the NICU. And it's like people kind of pass this part of our story, which I'd like to kind of take a pause real quick and have people understand kind of the background of this. Is like, you know, some people really think, oh, okay, they lost a daughter, right? This happens to a lot of families, premature awareness, like it happens. We're sorry. We don't really know what to say about that. We're sorry. But I want people to pause for a minute when they think about this. We were in that hospital for 42 days watching our daughter go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, right? You know, and the NICU it's an emotional, physical, mental roller coaster. And then I want you to think about, we weren't given the same opportunity to have our daughter be put into that carrier and taken out. You know, people kind of pass this part really quick because it's uncomfortable, but the truth of the matter is, the facts is that we watched other families leave with their babies, right? We had to leave that hospital empty. And I just would like to sit there for a second and think about that. Because people who have stories often feel that same emptiness from the trauma and from the loss and from the grief and from loneliness and isolation of what trauma brings. But there is also such a beauty when God enters this story and says to you, I feel you, you know, I feel your emptiness. I feel this. But let me shine a little light into the story. You know, let me guide you to this little church in the corner you've never been to. And you can step on this stage and have everybody in the room just feel you for the first time. Or let me introduce you to one of the best people to publish a book with so that you can really help other people read this and understand tools to use. So his first book was the 8 F's to Freedom. That was the one that was written all in the NICU. And I felt like, you know, Jesse, it's changed us. If it's worked for us so well, share it with other people, you know, let other people feel this same change. So that's why he dropped that first book. Now, when you become an author, you have to learn about speaking, right? It's part of the gig almost. Is like, if you want your book to be heard, if you want your book to be seen, if you want your book to change lives, you have to get up and you have to feel good about talking about it. So that's kind of where the speaking kind of rolled into place here, where, you know, he kept going on these stages and he started in churches, and every time he got up on there, you could just see him glowing and changing and growing. And I couldn't deny it as his wife. I just couldn't. And I saw it live, and he just became better, and he became more solid, and he became more safe and more secure. And this is where Jesse was growing. And I 100% stood with him, you know, side by side, stood with him to lock arms with him, to say, you know, this is something, let's do this. Let's do this for other people so other people can have this chance, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, I love your guys' story because, like you said, you know, you like, this interview is about you, but it's you two as a couple, and how you guys are, how you're using both of your lives and your stories and your talents and your passions. Like you said, like, you love to travel and be a servant. It's probably why we get along so well. And then, you know, he has this passion to speak. And so, like, you guys have been able to merge it together and do what you both love. And also, you know, by, you know, his testimony of him transforming, it transformed you, it transformed your marriage, it's transforming your family, and that whole leaving a legacy. Like, you guys are living proof that when we put God first, and we let him transform our lives and then our marriages, then we walk into the people that he has created us to be, and the vision and the desires and the passions that he puts inside of us. When we truly start to walk in them, in his will for us, it is absolutely beautiful. And so did you ever have like this wanting to be an author or a speaker? Or was it
Yeah.
just kind of, you did?
Yeah. So it's funny that you asked me that, because what happened is I was really comfortable in the back. I was real comfortable being the person that was doing all the event planning, and I did not want the microphone in front of me at all. But then I got to a place in the last 2 years where I realized through this story that I really needed to challenge myself and do something different. So we really focused on the word legacy, and that word is the whole prereq of what has been happening in my life within the last 2 years. So there's a story connected to this, and it's so beautiful, and it's why I started Warrior Women. Because Rachel, honestly, I had a moment. I had a real life moment. It was so transformational for me, and I just wanted to share that moment that started this whole mission. Is for me personally, we are sitting around my kitchen table. We were having dinner with my 2 teenage daughters, and some people have heard this story, and it was pivoting for me. It was life-changing for me. We're sitting around, I have 2 teenage girls, and we're talking about the word legacy, and that's our conversation starter. And the reason why we're talking about it is because my daughters both wrote their book of a children's perspective of grief with Jesse. Now, as his wife, I stepped back. I wanted to see him do that with his girls, and it was beautiful and it was amazing. And I didn't want to come in and overtake it, and overpower it like women kind of tend to do sometimes. We step in and we want to, take control of it all. I wanted him to have it with his daughters. And they were talking about a picture that was sent from a different country of this guy reading my child's book to his child at night. And he sent a picture of him reading it to his child. And I was sitting around the table with them, and I was so proud of them. And I thought it was so beautiful. And I sat there and I went, okay, so Jesse's got something tangible. My kids have something tangible. And then I had a really hard punch in the face that I have nothing tangible. And then I got really hit in the face too that I'm hosting these events of the power of your story, and I'm sitting in the back. And I had to sit there for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And it was tough for me. Mm-hmm. And it bothered me. And I had a really good one-on-one with God that night. And he kept me up all night. I didn't sleep. Sleep. And then I woke up and I called 40 women the next morning. And I said, listen, this is what I was told. This is what I'm going to do. I literally heard God whisper to me, do it. Wow. So I woke up the next morning and did it. I decided I wasn't going to be this person in the back for my children anymore. I just wasn't. I said, God's called me to step into this, to step into the scene, to come more, take that microphone, talk a little bit more about my story. And then what I needed to hear exactly is what happened. I looked at my daughter and I said, Haley, do you even know my story? And she said, yeah, Mom, I know your story, but your story's too sad. I don't want to talk about your story. I don't want to read your story. Mm-hmm. That's what my 17-year-old said to me. And I was like, oh no. See, that's the thing about the power of your story is that I absolutely did not want to leave the legacy behind of my story's too sad. You don't want to read my story. Mm-hmm. I was like, this can't happen. I have to change this.
That's powerful.
That was the biggest life-changing sentence I could have ever heard, because what happened from that moment on is I have to make this different, because I cannot leave here knowing that you can't even read my story because you feel bad for me. Because I don't want you to feel bad for me. That's not what I want. And then I realized what happens is when people share their stories, we're leaving people and letting them walk away thinking whatever they want about your story. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no. So thank God my daughter said that to me, because I said to myself, you know what? I have to change that. I have to have you understand specifically what I want you to know about my story. So there's lessons that I want you to know about my story. And it's not that I'm a victim and that I feel bad. This is not a victim life that I have. This is a victory, right? I've won the battle, right? And there's lessons that I need you to know from these battles that I faced, not definitely not for you to feel bad for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed that. And so I started Warrior Women, and I woke up the next morning, I called 40 girls, and I just kept calling girls and calling girls and calling girls and calling girls. And I just told them, listen, this is what I want to do. This is what we need to do. We need to start having people understand that you can't just walk away feeling however you want about my story after I share it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not my intention. My intention is that I need you to learn and grow about how I've learned and grown. And I need it to be passed down. And I need my family to understand that this is what it is, so that people don't just say whatever they think it is and it gets lost after 10 years. And I don't know about you, but I've been watching all of these things about in 100 years from now, right? While we're all gone.
Mm-hmm.
And our kids and their kids. And what is it that they're going to talk about with us, as their moms?
Mm-hmm.
What stories that they're going to say? And I had to sit there for a while and really think about that and meditate and pray and think to myself, what is it that I want them to know? What is it that I want them to learn? And what is it that I want them to say?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have written it down somewhere tangible, so that they know exactly what I need them to know. And I'm going to tell you, this is the happiest I've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
This is the happiest I've ever been. It's been the most life-changing journey I've ever done. I've challenged myself in every single way. I have never written a book. I have never led a group of women. I have never took 30 girls to New York City and did a Jumbotron experience. I have never done as many podcasts and put that mic in front of me and be this person where I want the microphone now. It's like a whole different version of myself. And I've really, really loved it. I really have grown so much, Rachel. I highly, highly, highly encourage people today that are listening to really meditate on what it is that God's showing you, because he's showing you things that you think that you could never do. And I am proof that I am doing things that I would never in my lifetime. I would never say 5 years ago, I'm going to be a girl leading 30 girls in an anthology about women empowerment. That was not the person I was.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can tell you that it's one of the best things I've ever stepped into.
That's beautiful. And there's so much, like, oh my gosh, like your story. I love how you I wrote it down. What do you want them to learn? What do you want them to know? And what do you want them to say? Because like you said, like I've read your story, and you're like, I cried, reading your story. But on the other side of that, like you said, like why you were on my summit and you said, why not me? And what are the lessons that I've learned? And you are, instead of saying, you could have very well stayed in the victim mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And woe is me, but you have taken all these things that you've been through, and that's the whole part of how to make a mark in the world, finding your signature, taking your gifts, your talents, your life experiences and uniqueness, instead of carrying them in a backpack, you unpack it, you deal with them, you heal from them, you put them in your heart, and then you share with the world how you have transformed. And and I'm a Jesus lover too. And Jesus heals, and he just delivers, and he just does all kinds of things. But I love that you could have stayed in that victim mentality. You could have used your story as a very victim mentality. And I'm sure some people do, but you changed it, and you want to know, you get to tell people how you want them to take your story. So now, instead of, as I read your story, like I said, I cried. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I remember texting you. I'm like, oh my gosh, but then, like, just seeing you, and, like I said, we haven't known each other that long, but I feel like we've known each other forever.
Right.
And, just, you know, how you are making such an impact and how you are creating women empowerment. You are creating victor mentality. You are helping people share their story. And, you know, you're now on your second book, and,
Mhm.
you know, bringing these girls together. And I know you mentioned it on one call that I was on, that, you know, as these girls are writing the book, they're having breakthrough, they're having healing, and you get to guide them along in that. And also what you said is like, 5 years ago, you never wrote a book, you never led anybody, but when it's God's desire and you answered the call, you were obedient in what he asked you to do because he told you something, and it's just unfolding and it's just beginning. Like
Yeah.
there's going to be so much more. Like it's, you know, God just puts those pieces together. So it's absolutely beautiful. So when did you start the Warrior Women? When was that?
Um, let's see. So it was about 6 months ago,
Okay.
and so let's see, May. I want to
Okay.
say May, and it was incredible because it's been a true journey for me for healing and growing, and as much as other women are having breakthrough moments and releasing, and so am I. You know, I am too, and
Mm.
I feel so filled from it, and I look forward to seeing everybody, and I love my calls, and I love watching people come together, and I feel so filled in the community, and the the togetherness and the vulnerableness and the growth, and doing it together, like doing the project really together, piece by piece. And it's been incredible for me because I saw something just recently, and it was amazing. I actually got emotional when I saw it. It was something recently that I watched, and it said that healing, the journey of healing, is so interesting, and it's so complicated because what happens is you create somebody else to get through your battle, that you transform into a different person to win victory when it comes to trauma, and to be able to push through to get to the other side of the battle. And I know that everybody that's listening has some form of battle that they've faced. You know, he tells us that our life will be full of that. And I had to think about that, you know, like with the loss of my fiance, and then the loss of my daughter, and then having it be where it was like a hit and run case. It's a cold case still. We didn't really have any closure, and then I lost my daughter, and I really, when I was a single mom for so long, and I had to put myself through college, and I thought about all of these things at 21 years old that I did. It was like I literally had to make a whole different person to get through what I had to get through at the time. But the problem is with healing is that you have to then let go of that person completely because the battle's been won. And then you have to, it's like you're a whole different person again. So it's like you create and lose multiple times versions of yourself to be
Mm.
able to get through battles, and to get to the other side of it, and to seek victory. And in that, God's the person that does that for you. He's the person that helps you become who you needed to be to win the battle,
Mm.
to stand back up, to find that community.
Mm.
And then he also is the same person that comes back in and shows you, okay, it's safe to let that person go now, and that person can't continue to come along. That was the person that you needed to be to survive, and this is now who you need to be to thrive. And it's releasing a whole different person, and then you're transforming to a whole different person as you're thriving. And that healing journey for me has been so amazing. It's been so beautiful to learn that I'm no longer the person that I was back then. You know, he's transformed me in every single way possible. And I'm never going to be the same. I'm never going to be the same, and I claim that and I stand in that energy. And I'm moving forward and I'm not stopping. I'm not stopping because I know that this is a calling that is so needed, especially in women. There's been so many women that I've met, and it baffles me how much they've gone through, and you would never know. You would never know how much they've gone through because they still walk around and carry themselves with such beauty and such love and such light and
Mm.
such faith. And they're still running careers and running households and being great moms and doing all these things. It's mind blowing to me how much everyday women are still doing this superpower thing that we do as women. It's just so incredible. I love hearing everybody's story, don't get me wrong. But when I hear an everyday warrior woman story, it does something different for me. It does something so different for me because it's like, man, you're still a great mom, you're still a great wife, you're still running a whole house, you're still running a career, you're still running a business, and nobody even knows that you've gone through all of those things
Mhm.
just by looking at them until you get
Mhm.
to this kind of stuff where
Mhm.
it's a little bit more. It's a little more than surface level stuff. And I think it's incredible, and I want to celebrate that. I don't think that we're celebrated enough.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. You know, and you're so right when you say that because like I had no idea your story. I met you in February. I had no idea your story until the middle of the summer when your book was released and I bought one from you to support you, to read the ladies because there was several people in there that I knew and I'm like, you know, I'm going to support her, get her book and I had no idea the things that you've gone through and again, that just goes with that victor mentality, that victor overcoming mentality. And I even like that story that you just shared about how God, you know, brings us, you know, to the whole that whole process. I'm going to listen to that again. The whole process because that's really really very good. And to not stay the same like we're not supposed to stay the same if we're not growing. You know, some people will be like, well, you've changed and they're still the same, right? But we're supposed to change, we're not supposed to stay the same. If we're
Mhm.
staying the same then we're really not going anywhere. We're supposed to, you know, evolve, like you said, like everything you just said, like we're supposed to become that person that God created us to be. And so, and as we go through each thing in life, you know, we get there as the person we were, and then it's like a shedding, right? It's like, okay, now like a like we're shedding skin, right?
Yeah, it literally made me emotional because we're not. And that was really hard for me because I thought I had to really evaluate myself. Like, you know how much it takes to get through what you get through, right? Think about it. Think about the women who've gone through domestic violence, who've gone
Mhm.
through abuse, who've gone through you know, rape and just cancer and disease and family illness and all of these things, right? Loss of a child. There's so many things. And you're going to hear about all of those things in these stories. But think about that. When you overcome those battles, right? And those battles, let's not take them battles lightly, okay? Let's not take those battles lightly cuz I don't like going so quickly over those things because that stuff matters, right? That's
Mhm.
you've become a different person because of that battle, right?
Mhm.
But have you let go of that person since then? Have you let go of that person since then? Since you've won the battle, right? Now, am I the same person that I was to get through the loss of my child? Am I still that same woman? Because that's the thing about this is that God shows you that it's okay when it's safe to say, now the battle's won. You know, we've gotten there to the top of the mountain. That's why I have this where the women are all holding hands at the top because we got there. We got there. So now, are you still that same woman? Are you still in surviving mode? Or have you been transformed to be able to let that person go because you know how hard you worked to get through that? to be able to become the person to say, I won, I was a victor. Like, not everybody wins. And I know that, you know, some of us don't win. And unfortunately, that's usually because they didn't have the right community or the right resources.
Mm.
And then some people are stuck in that mentality, like, okay, well, I had to survive. That was me. That was all me. I had to do all that. I had to become that person to be able to, like, how many, I could have turned to drugs. I could have turned to all of these things, but I didn't. That was all me. Well, it's not all you. That's the thing about this, is that it's not all you. It's God. And it's God telling you that it's okay when it's safe enough to let go of that person too, because now you no longer need to live there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a beautiful release. And you really become a completely, it's like the caterpillar and the butterfly metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
I have literally had my wings taken off. I had shedding of the skin. I've changed colors. I've morphed. It's such a beautiful transformation what happens when I no longer need to stay in the woman who lost her child and fiance in a tragedy, because I've won that battle. And now I'm here to encourage women that it's okay to let that woman go, and that battle's been won. And now it's time to step into the calling of what God's called you to be as the new woman on the other side of the battle. And now we got lessons to teach the world and stories to share for the women who are coming up in the next 100 years. It's going to be your kids and mine and my grandkids and yours. And we need them to know that life is going to happen. That's what he promises. Life is going to happen. It's about getting back up, transformation, and being able to carry that on for the bigger purpose to help other people coming up along the way, so that they don't lose hope, so that they also can win that battle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's so good. That's so good. I've absolutely enjoyed just having you on and just you sharing your story and your heart and your passion. And like, I feel it. I'm sure everybody that watches this, they can feel it too. And so, you know, like, as we wrap up here, share with us, like, what's next? What's for the rest of 2023? What's in for 2024? You know, what's some of the things you're working on, some of the vision and things like that?
I have so much, and I'm very, very excited about this energy that I have about meeting as many as women as I can, learning so much about different networks of people, lifting all of my girlfriends along the way, because everybody's doing so many amazing things in this world. I think that it's important to stay connected to people who are doing positive things in the world and lifting those people along the way, because we really need to start embracing this idea of how there's so much power in lifting instead of separating.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I love lifting. I love seeing people win, and Jesse and I, we want to see people win, and so that's part of my 2023 2024 is lifting the girls in my circles. Also, my book for the second series will be out in about a couple weeks. It's coming out very soon. I'm very excited about series 2 coming out. It's an amazing group of women with an amazing set of stories. These stories are here for you to read and to be able to be inspired and to give hope and to empower. So please check out series 2 that's on its way out. We'll be in New York City in December, celebrating that win together, lifting each other up together. And that's so important and so beautiful, and a huge piece of my life that I love.
Mm-hmm.
I love that I have a tribe. I love that I have people who are shouldering me along the way. And I'm continuing this effort of learning more about women, learning more about what they're doing, how we can collaborate to be able to push this women empowerment movement, to be able to push the power of the story, because for me, it's been life-changing. And so anybody that would like to you know, collaborate. And so I have a few people that I have been really, really, really focusing on how we can collaborate. And so I see great things in the future for 2024. I know that there's going to be so many more conferences and retreats and just all these amazing things that I know that as women we could do. And I can't wait for that. So yeah, there's a whole list.
That's exciting. I love it. That's so exciting. I'm so excited to see how God keeps moving and how you guys keep operating in his obedience and answering his call and walking into his purpose and his will for your life. And you know, as long as we keep God first and walking in his will, what he wants for us, I mean, it's just going to be beautiful. So I'm excited to celebrate with you. I'll be over here celebrating with you guys while you're at the thing, and I'll meet you there one day. We'll be there together one day. So hopefully in 2024 that'll happen. And so, but I am so excited to just, you know, be in your path and just be a friend of yours. And how can people get a hold of you if they want either the book or, you know, just to follow you? Share with us how they can do that.
Yeah, so we have our speaker competition coming in February in Florida, and then we're also doing Italy in June, and then we're also doing Iceland in right after
Yay.
that. Yeah,
Oh
so
my gosh.
so those are a few things. And then also for Warrior Women with the book coming out on Facebook is where my biggest platform is. I'm also on Instagram. And then my email is dcmergeworldwide@gmail.com. That's my email. So if you want to give me an email on Facebook on messages, and then also on Instagram, you can find me at dcruz74 2014. And yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of me, and shoot me a message, or you know, find me on Facebook and follow me. And I encourage people to do that and see the journey of Warrior Women, because these girls, it's just an incredible group of women with incredible stories. And so if you'd like to be empowered and lifted, this is definitely going to be the book for you. It's a very easy read, and it's so filling. So
I agree. I 100% agree. It is a very easy read, and again, I went through the book and read it, and it's very impactful. So
Thank you.
I'm so excited for you. But thank you so much again for just being here with us today and just sharing your heart, sharing your story, getting your voice heard, getting your message out there so that you can leave that legacy for your family and your future, your kids, your grandkids, and on and on and on. And so you're changing the generations. You are changing the generations. And so I'm so excited for that. So I thank you very much. So all right, my friends, until next time, we will see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is your host, Rachel Bess, and I hope you loved the show. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel, as well as share with a friend. If you would like, you can follow me on Instagram as well as Facebook under Rachel Best. You can also find me on my website at rachelbestspeaks.com.